If everything went as planned, we are now streaming my trip into virtual reality to my YouTube channel, and this is just a learning process right now, checking to see if the systems work, what I'm seeing, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing we're looking at here is what are the things that we have in hand. This is the simplest. So let's start here. In the default is the right hand is your paintbrush, your tool for interacting with the environment. There's different options. Like if you pull the trigger, it's going to do whatever your palette has told it to do. Also gives you the ability to pick different brushes, change sizes of brushes, larger, smaller. Very important function right there. This, I never use this one just because it does this, but there is a palette in here, and it wasn't in the early version when I started using tilt brush, so I never got in the habit of it. I use this palette extensively. You can learn that one too. Anyway, that's not what I want to dwell on today. So there's different tools. Eraser allows you to erase. We'll go through all these palettes. I just grabbed that one because it was important. Oh, and it was important to turn it on. But then you got to turn it off because otherwise you're still the eraser. Can't tell you how many times I did that. So there's also an undo button here. It's on the left controller. Undo, redo. So now this happens to be the index controller, but the same functions should be on whatever kind of handset that you have. It should have the same basic functions. Important place. Down at the bottom of the left hand, we have our sketchbook. This is where we access our sketches. This is also where we save our sketches. And then you can update them or throw them away. Upload doesn't work anymore, I don't believe. I think that was part of Google. Now, they may have updated it with something, but I'm not just aware of that. Not important for this class. Save, clear sketch. That's going to take everything out of the sketch. Start over fresh like that. You're going to want to start in beginner mode because that has got, just the basic tools. But when so you only have, not nearly as many palettes up there when you first start. Now you can add more to it, but as long as you're on that beginner mode, you're kind of limited. You will find your way to the advanced mode most likely, unless you just don't like having that much stuff in front of you. But there's things that you're going to need, such as camera paths, that are not available on that primary toolbar. Also, if you happen to be using one of the other the non-Steam VR versions of this software, you're not going to have some of these functions. For instance, I know that camera pass is not there. It was left off because the processor in the Oculus Quest 2 right now is the highest number of units that are out there. It doesn't have the processing power to stand alone. So the software that they give you is limited in that it does not have that camera path. And when you're doing virtual cinematography, this is crucial because it gives you the ability to set up your camera and control it with the direction, the speed, the zoom, and the additional points. And so this is a really, really, really nice feature. This was not always in Tilt Brush. Really one of the best things that has come out of the open brush is getting these camera paths. I think that there may have been there at the end of Tilt Brush, but I'm not sure. But this is a tool that really allows you to bring your game to whatever level you want. I mean, the more you put into it, the more you get. But this is where you can really shine, because this gives you the ability to get into micro detail about how you want that camera to function, and it's just a really powerful tool, and it's a good thing to have for us to do. And actually, when I'm working on the camera pass, I just leave this one out. I leave it hanging there. So you'll probably end up seeing, I end up with different palettes all over the place when I'm working in here. I don't limit myself to this, and it allows me to do different things. So to see the camera pass, you go to the camera pass tool, and then you set show paths, and you can see the paths that you've created. That's the one that I just created. You can do multiple paths so that without ever changing the art that you've created, you're going to be able to look at it from a lot of different ways. And that is really cool, and it's a really valuable ability, because you don't have to, if you plan your scene well, you can think through the telling of the story just by the way that you do the cameras, and without having to change the scene. I guess that's part of the art of it, and everybody will develop their own techniques for that. This is another important thing right here. This is the local media library, and I'm going to turn off the camera pass for now, just because I'm going to keep it quiet, so to speak. You can get too much information on here. So you've got local models where you can add different objects, models that you've done. And a really cool feature that is in here that was not around for a long time is you have got the ability to load a selection of strokes from a painting and export that as an object that you can import, just like you see I did there. So this was a piece of art that I did for another project that I did, but I like that, and I like to move it around and reuse it. When we get to talking about animated brushes, it's got animated brush strokes so that the mouth is sort of a little bit animated. Excuse me, you see me shifting in my chair there. But yeah, so that is your local models. You can do local images, so you can import, anything as I think a PNG or a JPEG. You can go in there, and what you can do is you can choose to use one of those. And in that case, what I did is I made text, because text is one of the really hard things to do in here. And I don't like hand doing text. So I just created that in a photo software, put it in here, added it as a local image, and imported it into the thing. So the other thing that is cool, and this wasn't always the case, is that you can add video as well. and that was not always the case. And when you have that video up there, what you can do is you've got controls here. So you can play or pause it. You can control whether or not the audio is coming in, and that is cool.
His Ford 80
because
tractor,
then you can have
an accident that would eventually
that
take his
video
life.
as part of
This story is about the 30 hours leading up to
your
his
scene.
death, when the spirits took control.
So there you go. We've got the basics here, including how do we get videos, images, and local models. And you've got the ability to control those by selecting them. So if you have two videos out there, and you can have multiple videos, and that is cool, you can touch it with your controller, and that will control which one is being over there. But that's for the videos. It's not for the other models and such. All right. So let me put that away. All right. You can work in layers. This is new. I haven't really done much work in layers, but if you've ever done any graphics design, animation, anything like that where you're using a time, then it's good to have layers so that you've got those, and you can have multiple layers there. We're not going to focus on that today, but it is a function that's out there. There are guides, which are tools to allow you to draw in world with some control. So it's really hard to create a sphere or a true circle. And so what the guide can do is you can grab a brush, and I'll just grab, I'll just leave it with the brush that's there. You can draw, and your line will be connected to that shape, so that, you know, if you wanted to build a planet or whatever, a ball, you know, you've got the ability to do that. And you've got that ability for a number of different kinds of tools. So there's a plane, which is going to allow you to work on a plane. Very useful if you're trying to write. That wasn't always in there either. And then you've got that so that it's straight, instead of your hand is naturally going to want to curl. And so it's hard to go in a straight line. Mother Nature doesn't really like straight lines. So I've got a lot going on there. So I'm going to just come back, and I'm going to erase that because it's getting a bit much. And sometimes it does get a bit much. So you've got the ellipsoid, the capsule, the cube, the sphere, and the plane. And then you've got settings as to the guide, so that the snap distance for the pointer, the grid size, the grid line width, and the grid frame width. And so there's those tools in there, and that is your guide. And that was turned on there. Turn that back off. So environment. So this is how you set the stage. So what you do, go into environment, there's pass-through, which when you're going to extensive reality, this is what's going to be, or extensible reality, or augmented reality, this is what's going to show out there. So there's no background, so that it's essentially existing without context, so that it can be placed into some other context. There is the standard, which is just the way that it starts, and you'll want to make your way through these. That's part of the experience of it, is going through that. But there's space, which I use sometimes for a particular mood. There's a dress form that shows up there. There's a pedestal, night sky, standard, Snowman. Everybody eventually seems to build a snowman. Pink lemonade, pistachio. You can check all these out and see what you like for them. An example. This is actually a really cool one. This is a newer thing, at least it is for me. This allows you to control the lighting in the environment. So, and this is really new to me, so I'm not quite sure where we're going with this yet. Well, we'll come back and get that one on another video. So I'm getting to the point now where I'm mostly functioning in the pass-through unless I have a specific reason to, and that's just because it's personal preference. Let me get rid of that ball. Oh, we got our lights. I'll get rid of the ball later. And this is actually really important. You'll see there is some real strength in this. It's lighting. I mean, that's what when you're doing cinematography, that's part of the art of it, is the lighting. And so you can tell by looking not at the lit object, but at the image of me, the lighting actually, you control the direction and the color of the primary and the secondary. And it can make for some pretty profound differences in the way that the world is portrayed. It's a thing where you can really do cool stuff because it's so easy to mess with lighting in here that there's no reason not to. All right, so there's the lights. The backdrop, that's what I was going to show you. Okay, so this is cool. It allows you to, here, I'll show you. Right now everything's set on black. It allows you to control the world. So you can move the source lighting, and you get two sources. You get the positive and the negative color, and you can use them in whatever way you want. But this is what that ends up looking like, and you can move that so that you have multiple colored backgrounds, you know, with where you're going there. And so you've got a lot of control over how the lighting happens within this, because this puts a glow up everywhere. It's in the background, and it's actually a really cool, fun tool. And you can go with fog, which controls how visible that lighting is in the world. All right, these are advanced features that we're not going to go into right now. Let me go back to the beginner mode. Okay, we got our color palette. This is how we choose our colors. And you can change the way that it's presented in there. That's not seem to function right. Oh, there it is. So there's a lot of different options for choosing your color. So I've never been very good at color. So this allows you to dial it in. Jitter is a cool tool. We'll get to that later. That's an advanced thing, but it allows you to control multiple strokes with a single pull of the trigger. And then, of course, there are our brushes. Let me get rid of this. It's in the way now. All right. Are we happy with the color? I'm not too happy with the red in the background. Let's change that a little bit. So I want to go back to where was I? I always forget where that one is. Backdrop. It's right there too. All right, I don't want to do the red. I'm not in a red mood. Let's go with green. Ooh, that's too much green. A little bit darker. Set a mood here. So on one side we got blue, and one side we got green. Let's match up those colors. So we're way down in the blue. And we're way down in the green. I think that's closer. All right. So let's get rid of that. Actually, I want to tweak it just a little bit. Yeah. Just a little of the blue, a little of the green. All right. Oh, another thing to keep in mind. You need to keep dehydrated. Keep hydrated. You need to keep hydrated while you're in here, because you can end up being in here for a very long time. And you really need to drink. I sit with a 64-ounce water bottle where I know how to reach it. I do most of my work sitting down. Sometimes I do it standing up, but I do most of my work sitting down. So I've got a place positioned where I can do the work from a seated position. Oh, there we go. That's another thing. So you can change the scale of things, and this is really important thing to get a control of when you're doing this, because what this allows you to do is to zoom in and zoom out. So if you have a stroke that looks like that at the dinosaur level, that same stroke at the mouse level becomes much, much smaller. So that when we're at human level, that's the difference in those two strokes. So, and the motion of my hand was the same. So what that gives you the ability to do, obviously, is to work with really tiny things and to work with really big things at the same time. So you can really change the scale, and that makes a huge difference in when you're working on these. And so the way that I do this with these controllers, and when you first go into OpenBrush, there's a tutorial, but I squeeze these two places right here. And by doing that, so my thumb's on the outside or the top, my fingers, I have one finger on each trigger, and then I have the rest of my fingers right here. So I squeeze those parts together. That allows me to expand and contract, expand and contract. That is the most useful tool, and you'll get to the point where you just do it by instinct, because you'll use that so often. Okay, where were we at now? I keep distracting myself with the cool things. Okay, so we've got another set of tools here. We didn't go into the brushes yet. There we go. Okay, so brushes. So we worked with the color. Here's the brushes. There's a lot of brushes here. And I don't have sound going in the background right now, but if I did, we would turn on that audio reactor. And what it'll do is it will pick up on the music that is being played in the background. Oh, wow, there's brand new brushes today that I've never seen before. Oh, this is a cool day. There was a new brush drop, I guess. There's a bunch. Oh, I turned on experimental mode. And so there's things that have changed since I used this. So I get to see a bunch of new brushes. This is going to be a fun day. That I haven't used before, because they unveil new brushes. And so there's a bunch of brushes I don't know. And so what I was saying is you can turn that audio reactive. And I normally jam out, listen to something while I'm working. I turn on the music, come in here, and there are certain of the tool brushes that respond with movement to the audio. I'll cover that either later or in another video. All right, let's do this right now. I'm going to go and I'm going to start some music. So I'm leaving here. So what I want to do is I want to save my sketch and click on it. So what that does is it adds to the sketchbook that picture that I just took. If I click on that, it will reload that same sketch. So that's...
On January 10th, I received a call telling me that my dad's death was imminent.
Oh, and that's actually an interesting thing to do. When you load a sketch, the video that you've got, if it's set to play,
my brother and my sister
automatically
were each
start
headed
playing. And
from
that's
different
actually very
locations
useful
towards
for
where my
timing
father was
of
located
video
in the
in some
hospital,
of this filming.
and that it was unlikely that they would reach there before my father died.
Go into local media.
At that point,
Stop that from playing. Turn that off. All right. So this is the movie When the Spirits Took Control. I spent a lot of time on that. That's probably the best work that I've done. No, it's definitely the best work I've done. Okay, where were we? Brushes. So you grab whatever brush, you adjust the size, and there's different groups of brushes on here. So they range from oil paint to whatever. So get in and check those out. I'm going to have fun with some of these later because it's always fun to play with new brushes. But if you turn on the audio reactor, different of the brushes will behave differently. Try it, experiment with it. Okay, and then here's a group of tools that you'll need to learn. Eraser, dropper. So if I use the dropper and I click on a stroke, it absorbs that stroke. So let's say that I've done a petal, purple petal. And I want to change the color of that. What I do is go to the dropper. I want to use this stroke. First off, that changes my brush back to the other stroke, but I can use the repaint tool and it's not going to let me do it. Oh, because it's the same color. Different strokes behave in different ways. So now, let's try this again. I'm going to get the dropper tool. I'm going to grab this. It's going to change the brush that I have. And then I'm going to repaint that one. Because it's the same kind of stroke, it lets me repaint it. Well, actually, it's letting me repaint all of these to that color. But with these strokes, because they're affected by the lighting, it doesn't make as much sense. You'll need to play with that a bit. Okay, we got cameras. There's a group of options here. There is the snapshot. You take a picture and it'll take a snapshot of that picture. Using the thumb, you've got an auto GIF, which will create a, I don't know, I think it's a 3-second GIF. You can take a 5-second GIF where you have control over what that's going to look like for 5 seconds. You've got video. This used to be the way of capturing the scenes, but the handheld is, you know, tenuous at best. It has its purpose, but I shake, and so all my videos used to shake. And you'll notice it'll pick up audio and video. And those videos end up getting placed out on your desktop so that you can use them wherever. The same thing with the camera pass. So it'll create videos, it'll put them out onto a folder on your desktop, and that's where you'll get those videos for editing or whatever else you're going to do. Okay, so teleport, I don't use this much, but it allows you to move around the space. Because I'm normally playing standing or sitting down, it's not real useful to me. But hey, do whatever you want, whatever works. So that's a transportation type of tool. Selection allows you to select what you want. You can select all or none. You just pull the trigger. You can group those so that when they're grouped, they become one. So no matter what you do with those, they're always going to be linked together until you ungroup them. So that becomes real useful in a lot of purposes. So remember, you're working in three-dimensional space here. So there's going to be times when it's going to be a lot more efficient to duplicate a stroke or excuse me, you get efficient in the way you do those strokes. And some things like grass, for instance, if you're drawing up the grass, that's a lot of strokes, so you can build up efficiencies with it. Drink a little water here. Okay, we've talked about the camera pass. We'll go into that a lot more later. The guides, the paint brushes, mirror. This is a useful tool. There is in the advanced tools a double mirror, but what this does is allows you to have a mirror so that anything that you draw, turn off the selection tool, on one side will be on the other side too. So you can see the mirrored application of this. And there's some really cool ways that you can use this. You can even spin that mirror to get some interesting effects. So I won't start drawing now, but because I'm talking about this, once I get started, I can be in here for a very long time. So there's different brushes. Again, you use the arrows to move side to side, back to back. There's a lot of different tools to use. All of them look differently in the same light. So there's a lot of experimentation to do there. So just have fun with all of that. All right. I'm going to play with some of those. But I think I'm going to, finish these straight edge. So this requires the stroke to stay straight. There's times when that is going to be like your best friend tool ever. This is a new tool to me. It's the fly tool. It allows you to move around fly around. So this actually works to me, but I only figure out how to go forward with it. I wish it allowed you to go backwards, but yeah, good tool. So as you get to these massive sketches, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a stroke way up there I need to get to. Oh wait, I need to get back to there. So it allows you to move around and really make the most of the three-dimensionality of this, because you're not just standing and sitting and painting, you're moving the entire environment, and it allows you to do some really cool trippy shit. So yeah, that's sort of becoming my specialty, is trippy shit. But all right, let's finish the tools here. Snip allows you to cut a stroke. That is a new feature, and it is a fantastic feature because it used to be if you were erasing, you could only erase an entire stroke. Well, now you can cut off part of that stroke and get rid of just the part of the stroke that you don't want to be there, which may not sound like much, but when you've made enough of this art, it's a fantastic tool. Kudos to the people at OpenBrush who got that. Join allows you to reconnect or connect two different strokes together. And I would imagine that that buys some real efficiency in the way that this is rendered, but I'm not sure of that. I don't get the math, but all right, so that's all the tools that we're going to cover right now, and I'm going to stop this recording for a number of reasons, but I will save this. Always remember to save your work. You can save it as a new sketch, or you can save it as an old sketch. All right, let me turn off. I'm going to exit out of here. So I am going to exit the game, saved the game. I'm going to go to my virtual desktop. It was a long video to process.